And there's the feedback.
Yeah. I killed the speakers. Sorry. I killed the speakers. So we won't be able to use the microphone.
Yeah. We also received some.
You still there?
I am, yep.
Okay. So we just won't be able to use the
Best
microphone.
quality, so they don't look like
Okay,
they're
so
gonna.
that will be an issue if we need to play the open forum video, so have an alternate plan there if it's reconnect the speakers or hook up a different set.
Okay. All right. I can do that.
All right, so looking then. Okay, the sound is good on the stream. You can go ahead and mute the audio going out until we're ready to go live.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna mute this one.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're having a little bit of feedback. Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin our meeting as we always do with an invocation. I'm going to invite board member Mark Kincaid to offer our invocation.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day and the blessings that you give us. Lord, we ask that tonight during this meeting that you would give us wisdom as we go into a school year full of uncertainty. Lord, we need your guidance and direction in all that we do. And Lord, just protect our students, protect our teachers, and we thank you for just their dedication to this community and our kids, Lord, and protect our administrators as they make tough decisions to keep things moving along. We just praise you and love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. All right, I call this meeting the First Consolidated Independent School District to order. This meeting has been duly called according to Texas Government Code. Welcome everyone to our regular, if you can call it regular, but it's board meeting. Good to see everybody here. Doing it online. And at this time, I'm going to call the roll. Trustees, just for the record, hopefully there's two out, wherever land. Suzanne, Ross, Ronnie, here, Mark.
Here.
Earl. Here. Good deal. Angela, and myself. Everybody's here.
Michelle said it's excellent.
We're getting low communication that they can't understand. We're going to take a short pause here for a moment.
All right.
So for those of you that are church drivers, it's just like mid-spring.
Test 1, 2. We're still getting feedback from that end.
You have to record your short video as you. So it's
Test 1, 2. Still getting some feedback. I always have to start over.
I think that's how.
Yeah, anyone anyone that's on the call, if you can understand me, please, your speaker.
Can't. Oh, that was really cool.
Anyone else still on the line that has not muted? Getting reports that they.
Assistant coach. Shut up.
Test 1, 2. I don't think so. It's something to do with the screen. Mark, Earl, Michelle,
Mark, Earl,
and Sharon, I think.
somebody whose number ends in their call.
So if your number ends in 90, would you please unmute and let us know who you are? I'll look up on my phone if I can.
That's me, Mark.
Okay. You've just been tossed off.
I'm on my home phone. Should I try on my cell phone?
Mark, do *6.
Would I do what?
*6.
*6.
Yeah, and then *6 will unmute you.
Test 1, 2.
Okay.
And I got a message better from the outside world.
Okay. All right, we're back on, right?
We're back on.
And we are down to, first item on the agenda is open forum.
Yes.
Okay, just a quick explanation, open forum, the first item on the agenda is the forum, open forum. We have a request from at least one citizen to speak, this evening to outline the process for open forum. We have a short informational video that we would like to show you at this time. Maybe. Gotcha.
Your input into the direction of Burnett CISD is encouraged and will always be considered by the Board of Trustees. The public comment period is not the appropriate time to present complaints. The board will only consider complaints that remain unresolved after they have been addressed through proper administrative channels and when they have been placed on the agenda. During this portion of the meeting, the board will not engage in dialogue with the speakers and cannot deliberate or make a decision on any subject that is not on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to a total of 5 minutes, and a total of 30 minutes is allotted for this portion of the agenda. A speaker may not take the time of another speaker. A digital timer will be displayed on the screen for the speaker. approach the podium when their name is called. Speakers should clearly state their name and the topic being addressed before beginning to comment. Speakers must promptly end their comments when the allotted time has elapsed. Not yielding the podium, as well as remarks or other conduct that disrupt the meeting, are considered out of order and will not be allowed.
And all I show is one speaker for this afternoon, and its subject is placement testing for homeschool children not planning to enroll. And the name is Miranda Colson, is that right?
Yes. You can speak on the podium.
Okay. You said, my name is Miranda Colson. I'm here today because I try to get my children placement testing, and was told that that's not part of the policy, and I was going to see if we could do any steps into changing that policy. So I'm a stay-at-home mother. I have 2 children. They're 5 and 7. I've been homeschooling my children for about 3 years now under the guidance of my mom, who's been a teacher for 17 plus years, now working for the San Saba ISD. I'm wanting to order our next year's curriculum this summer so we can start our classes around the same schedule as other schools. And I want to ensure I'm giving my children the best instruction available. Because of that, I called up to the school district and requested placement tests for both my children. I did this for 2 reasons. One, I want to make sure that I'm not missing any steps because I'm not a teacher or an educator through a college system myself. And I want to make sure I haven't missed any steps in the education I've just provided. And secondly, I want to make sure I'm ordering a grade level that's appropriate for my children. And since we do live in this district, if we ever did, if something happened with my husband, or if we ever did need to enroll, I wanted them to be able to enroll seamlessly with the other children in Burnett. And then I was told by the administration that it's against the board's policy to allow testing for children unless they're coming into the school district. And personally, I felt that my children were being discriminated against from a system who in the past has shown some prejudice against families wishing to provide children one-on-one education from the home. But my husband and I have lived and owned property for 6 years. We live inside Bertram, which means we've been paying taxes to both Bertram and Burnett ISD for that time period. And I got our old receipts, and I found out every year we pay either in between 47.3% to 57.3% just specifically to Burnett ISD every year. I feel that my children and our children should have every right to utilize the testing that your school provides to other children. And I think that persons so invested in education as the people in this room would be in agreement to giving as much support as possible to those who wish to educate their own. And I wanted to throw in the fact that statistics and studies throughout the time have shown that homeschool children typically perform better on standardized testing and overall performance, regardless of the educational level of the parent instructing. And additionally, the social, emotional, and psychological performance is likewise noted above average. I'm asking that the board change its policy on this matter and allow my children to have the same resources that all other school attending children have.
Thank you, Ms. Colson, appreciate you. You've got communications report.
Absolutely. Under communications reports, the first item on the agenda is recognition of Tasby Media Honor Roll recipients. As you know, the Tasby Media Honor Roll Award is presented each year to an individual who does an outstanding job of sharing the good news about Burnett CISD. Our recipient this year clearly does that. Martel Ludak is the owner of Ludak Photography and is the 2020 Burnett CISD Tasby Media Honor Roll recipient. Martel is always present when our students are performing, and she does a great job of capturing the action through her photography. In addition, she's also very generous in sharing her photographs with the district and the community. Would you please join me in congratulating Martel Ludak, 2020 Burnett CISD Tasby Media Honor Roll recipient. Your eyes are smiling. So. Oh, no, absolutely. We're going to take a picture right over here.
everybody can take a picture.
So that use camera?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One more round of applause for Mark.
And I always tell guests, you're allowed to stay as long as you want, but do not feel like you also have to stay. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, and that is recognition of the Pcat Bus Driver of the Year, Mr. Gehring.
Yes, sir. Each year, Pcat is our property casualty insurance company, and each year they recognize a driver of the year for the school district, Burnett CISD. This year, after the district driver was named, they figured out that holding her within the district boundaries was not enough. So, Mr. Jack Melton is here to do a presentation for our driver of the year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and honor Ms. Bridget Hill. Like Clay said, the Property Casualty Alliance of Texas, or Pcat for short, was founded in 2003, and is a group of 180 school districts in Texas with over 7,000 vehicles in the group. And each year, we accept nominations for Bus Driver of the Year. Like Clay said, we nominate or we award a winner at a district level, and then we also have a regional winner, and then we have a statewide winner. So Pcat recognizes that school bus drivers help set the tone for children's daily experiences. You could say that they are our school's ambassadors. Typically, the bus driver is the first school person who children see in the morning and the last they see in the afternoon. And just as it said about great school teachers, Pcat believes that the same holds true for the best school bus drivers. It's not a job, it's a calling. Each year, Pcat accepts nominations from the 180 school districts for Bus Driver of the Year nominations. They're evaluated based on 5 attributes: leadership, attitude, perseverance, student and parent relationships, and technical skills. The evaluators look particularly for those exceptional drivers who demonstrate a consistent desire to positively influence both students and coworkers through their actions and attitudes, and not just words. One bus driver is selected as the winner, and they go on to the regional and statewide competition. This designation represents the highest level of dedication and accomplishment. Here's just a few of the things that some of Ms. Hill's coworkers had to say about her. She always has a smile for everyone. She is kind, compassionate, and gives 100%. She is patient, compassionate again, and understanding when training new drivers. And she is a perfect example of what all people in education should strive to be. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to announce the statewide winner of the Pcat Bus Driver of the Year, Ms. Bridget Hill. First, we have a plaque for you, and we have a plaque for the school district to display somewhere. We have a nice, this was supposed to be done in March, by the way. So it has your name on it, and I recognize you as the statewide bus driver of the year. Nice, Jackson, you're the winner. And last but not least, a check for $1,000.
The name comes prepared.
I'll tell you a funny thing, I couldn't find a check when I left this morning. So I ran to the bank and got $1,000 and then I found a check.
Take off their mask.
Thank you.
That check's about 6 feet wide.
There.
Congratulations.
One more round of applause for Chris.
Also, there are all the people that took the time to nominate the 14 tumblers for those folks. There's a list of names of those who did that, whoever would be responsible for assuring that.
Congratulations.
Way to go, Ricky.
That brings us to item C, financial reports. Mr. Guerin.
This will be the first time I'm gonna run people off, so I'm excited. On the finance report, if we go to page 8, to start off with, that's our, regular monthly report of the budget to actual, and we currently sit at 82.43% expended. And we have now officially gone under the projected amount. Right now, we would be sitting at 83.3%. And so we have seen some of the savings we were projecting, through the closure. And so that will come in helpful as we move into next year and make some of these COVID purchases.
Hold on one second, Bridget. Can I borrow? Next time I ride your route. Congratulations, Marcel.
So we are.
Take the big check, sorry to interrupt, you can take the big check?
Jack, did she just take the big check?
You want to fix that?
Can we put it at transportation?
Absolutely.
Or at your house, wherever?
Okay, and so that shows, we are showing some savings, and as we get ready to close the year next month, we'll be able to wrap up the full year, but we have dropped below the investment, so we should be coming in with some surplus due to the savings. But like I said, we'll have plenty of expenses, as we're getting ready for the school year to cover those. Page 11 is our monthly financial report. I just want to point that out because later you guys are going to approve the review of our investment policy. And part of that policy is saying that we report at least quarterly about the investments of the district. We throw this puppy in there every month. So every month we show y'all what the investments look like, and Jill and I signed it. So this is what we talk about when investment policy, it says report to the board. The final thing I want to point out is on page 16 on the purchasing report, which we usually don't dig into very much, but you'll see that big old long line of Amazon purchases and ICE funds. So as the teachers return to, or actually more like as the campus secretaries return to work, them and the teachers went to work on finalizing their ICE funds. For those of you who don't remember, the ICE funds were the additional money that we allocated to each teacher just to kind of support their classroom, instructional classroom enhancement. And so some teachers left before the spring and didn't have an opportunity to spend those funds. So we gave them a couple of weeks when they came back and the secretaries returned to get those purchases made. And we are excited to announce ICE funds are in the budget again for next year. And I think it was a success, and it really ended up going smooth, and hopefully the teachers benefited from it. That is all I have on the financial reports for this month. Does anybody have any questions?
It's going to bring us to item D, which is report on operational and instructional issues related to COVID-19 and the reopening of schools. And we've got some late breaking news I heard, so I'm going to let Rachel go first tonight.
Okay, so this afternoon, Governor Abbott, released a press release stating that, STAR testing would not be tied to promotion for 5th and 8th graders as it has been. Students still must take the test, but they won't have to have any repeat administrations of the test, and it won't be required or tied to their grade level promotion. He stated that the A through F system is still in play. They're going to make modifications and they plan to move forward with it, but I think this is a really positive step in the right direction for students, so that they don't have to worry about repeating the grade level and continuing to take the test if they're not successful the first time.
And I will agree, it's a good first step, but it's not what we asked for in our resolution. And so hopefully it's just the first step, and that they're going to end up stair-stepping it back down to not having the accountability system and start testing this school year. I can't even imagine how they're going to justify an A to F accountability system given no comparative data from the previous year. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense, but.
I can tell you that some of the comments in the press release, the commissioner is defending, by saying that students really need to have, or parents deserve to have data about where their student is compared to grade level expectations. But I will tell you that most school districts have diagnostic data that we do provide parents. So parents are not left in the dark. The STAR test is not the parent's main gauge of the student's grade level ability. We have nationally normed as well as locally developed assessments, and we can very well tell parents exactly where their student is and where they still need to go. And so I agree that it's not good for kids. It's not, I don't think, a beneficially state funds either, but it's a first step.
Yes. As you know, we are in a window that is closing today for parents to make the selection of instructional setting for this next school year. And I say it's closing. It was kind of an internal closing of that selection process. After today, beginning tomorrow, parents would have to reach out to their campus in order to make that choice. To give you a little bit of data about that choice so far, as of today at 4 o'clock, 1,030 people had submitted a choice, 370 had selected remote, and that is a run rate of about 35.9%. So what we know is 2,264 students have not made a selection, or those families have not made a selection. And what we know, it's been about a week that we've had this window. About 30 people have made an initial change and then went and made another change, or made a selection and then made a change within that same window. Today, we sent out another email just encouraging parents to go onto the system, make your own self-selection right now. And then starting tomorrow, as I mentioned, parents will have to be contacting the campuses. We're actually meeting with principals tomorrow and going to be discussing about reaching out to families specifically to encourage them to make that selection. As a reminder, we have stated that anyone that doesn't make the selection by the hard deadline, and the hard deadline is 1 week before school starts, which is August 6th for us. That is a state mandated rule that we're allowed to lock in someone's choice. But if someone doesn't make a choice, then we're assuming that they're going to be in person for the school year. And as a reminder, that hard deadline on August 6th allows then for, if a remote learner, if they want to go back to being in person, then they have to wait until the end of that grading period. And they have to let us know they're changing 2 weeks prior to the end of that grading period. Now, those that are in person, by law, they're allowed to make the change to remote at any time. We have to honor that request at any time. So we still have a little bit of work, and I would encourage any parents that are listening to the stream that have not made that choice, you still have time even this evening to go on and make that choice. So please log into your Family Access on Skyward and make your selection known to us. That selection is going to drive all types of planning that's taking place across the district and on campuses. Next topic that I want to address is leave for staff. We touched on this last meeting, and I want to provide you with a little bit more information and get a little bit of feedback from you. So as a reminder, all employees in Burnett CISD receive 5 state personal leave days. And in addition to that, they receive 4 local personal leave days. So the 5 comes from the state of Texas. It's personal leave and can be used for any reason. The 4 local personal leave days come from Burnett CISD and again can be used for any reason. So every year, staff receives 9 total leave days. And both of these leaves, the state and the local, can accrue over time. So they carry over from year to year. If you don't use it, then you get to keep it and build up almost that little safety net for your family. In addition, this year, all employees will have access to 10 days from the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, FFCRA. This COVID-19 leave can be used by any employee who is, the two primary uses are if you're lab confirmed with COVID-19 and you have to stay home for the 10 days as mandated in our policy. Or it's also for employees who are ordered to stay home for the 14 days quarantine if they are deemed to have had close contact with a COVID lab confirmed person. As a reminder, that determination is made by a health professional. So in our case, in Burnett CISD, that would be the Burnett County medical advisor. So one other piece of information about the FFCRA, because that leave is federal leave, it's like FMLA, anyone who accesses that leave cannot work from home during that time. So they are required to be at home and not participate in any work. So they couldn't even, for example, if a teacher takes that leave, then they're not able to make a phone call up to campus and tell their team, hey, my lesson plans are over here, or I was planning on doing this activity during this time. So we have been asked the question by staff, as I shared with you last week, about providing additional leave for staff this year given the COVID-19 pandemic. A district is, we've worked with our school district attorney, a district is able to provide additional leave and develop additional requirements for that leave. To give you an example, the district could provide leave and then say that that leave, this extra leave, is limited to a single school year. So it would only be good for one school year. You could have a limit for the use of that leave. And so a district could say that any additional leave would be used for lab confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis and that 10 days that's required to be out of work, or for those COVID quarantine days, those 14 quarantine days in which you are ordered by the Burnett County medical advisor to stay home due to close contact. And that just names a few of the conditions that you could put on leave. To give you an estimate on the cost to the district for providing additional leave, we are estimating that 5 additional leave days provided to all employees would create a financial exposure to the district of $200,000. So if everyone accessed that leave, it would be in the $200,000 range. And in thinking about this upcoming budget, 2021, that is not, the $200,000 is not available in the current operating budget. And so if the district wanted to add any additional leave, it would be making the decision of either reducing something in the existing operating budget, or what we would recommend would be making, what's the word? Assigning fund balance. We're making an assignment of fund balance to cover that amount. And so given the discussion that we had last week, and then this little bit of discussion this week, we just wanted to start with you and ask, you know, does the board have strong opinions about providing additional leave to staff on top of the 5 state personal days, 4 personal leave days, and then the 10 days that are being offered as part of the FFCRA Act?
I don't have any objections to any of it. I mean, there's so many hypotheticals. The unfortunate teacher that last in the school year gets put on, has to go home because someone tests positive and they were in close contact. If we owe it to them, at least give them the day. Padre and contracted there, that's one thing. But when you're in the classroom and you just come in, you're one of the close contact and you don't have a choice, then but the small percentage, it might happen in the spring, it might happen in the fall.
Right.
I don't want to take it out on the teachers that they're required to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't want them to not say anything if they start feeling bad because they're running out of days.
Right. So 2 things. One is that the FFCRA does cover that. And so right now, everyone's starting with 10 days, and the 14 days really is 10 work days, because typically weekends are gonna play into it. And so then when you say that, well, I guess the other thing I would want you to know is that we're working with Burnett County Medical Advisor, and we're still unsure, but we think that it will be less common for someone to come in close contact, especially if both people are wearing a mask. We thought we were certain on that topic, and then there became a little bit of uncertainty, and so we're trying to lock in exactly what that means, but we're hoping, based on the definition we have, that if both people are wearing a mask, if everyone in the class is wearing a mask and someone does test positive, our working understanding is that that would not automatically result in a close contact, you have to be quarantined for 14 days. And so if that ends up being the general operating rule, then we're gonna have very few people. Our exposure then possibly is going to be at lunchtime, and it's going to be in our younger grades where we're not requiring a mask to be worn at all times, or a face covering rather. The other side to that is the younger they are, less likely are they presenting any symptoms, and so there might be less chance of us even knowing that someone is positive. And so with that as background, what we can't do is just say, anyone that misses, we're gonna cover that time. And so if the board wants to do something, it would have to be, set up a special leave bank, because from a financial standpoint and just a process, we can't have like an open bank account for any and all leaves, so. And so I guess that's what we had been having conversations about. They have the 10 days, and would we do 5 additional days on top of that? And that would take care of someone who gets sick and has to be out for 10 days, and then if they happen to if they get sick again, it would cover them another 5 days, or if they're in the quarantine situation, we think it would cover about half of it, because again, weekends would count towards those 14 days.
So if you're in a quarantine situation, obviously if you take a leave, you cannot work from home, but.
Those 10 days. Now, if you took a special leave that we set up, or you took your own leave, then yes, you can. Teachers do it all the time. They take a day, but they come up to school and set out their lesson plans for the day, or make a phone call to their team, or those things happen all the time. But it's under this FFCRA, those 10 days, because it's treated much like FMLA, that you can't have those folks working.
But if they're under quarantine, we wouldn't want them to come up in the middle of the night and put out their.
Well, in fact, they would not be if you truly are quarantined for close contact, you receive a letter from Burnett County saying that you're not allowed to go to a restaurant, a grocery store, you're not allowed to go anywhere. But those people, in many cases, could possibly work from home. And so there is also the opportunity, though, when we have a situation in which someone could work from home and upload information to the learning management system and grade papers, and even, in some cases, actually or synchronously present to the students in class via technology, then that person wouldn't necessarily have to use their leave. Now, that's a whole paradigm shift, and is that just for COVID situations, or we've had lots of conversations, because there's lots of trails that you're going to go down. So if my son gets sick, am I allowed to do that? If it's the flu, or I've got to take my dog to the vet, or so whatever rules we have in place, we need to make sure that they're well defined so that everyone understands kind of what the.
We know that the 10 days is going to cover the COVID.
Right.
The quarantine, right?
Right.
So that's new. That supposedly puts the rest of this leave thing in a different category other than COVID.
Right.
I mean, I think you're looking at two separate issues. Because granted, it may not turn out that 10 days is enough or whatever, because there may be complications, but generally, you're talking about two different things. COVID's covered. So you're asking if we want to just add additional days to what we do now.
Well, because, I mean, yes, COVID is covered, but those 10 days can be used for a diagnosis of I have COVID and I have to be out 10 days, or in the situation where I'm quarantined for 14 days, I can also access those 10 days towards that quarantine.
Could they access them if you have a child that has been diagnosed?
So, yes, and
Or a spouse or something?
yes, so when you're caring for an individual that is subject to a self-quarantine, or you're caring for his or her child, you enter into a category in which, for example, the caring for a child, school or,
With that, you're gonna be close contact, that's it, yeah.
well, that's true. But if you're having to stay home for a child, then it's not necessarily trying to find it on the form, it's not necessarily 100% of pay. You do get into a two-thirds of pay situation.
That's on the family one?
That's on the leave, right, the COVID federal leave.
So if you're caring for a child, you use your own, but when you go out on a quarantine due to COVID exposure within the school, you access that 10-day. Is that what you're saying?
And if they get close contact out away from school, if the county tells them you're quarantined, they have access to those 10 days.
Still using,
Still having that.
yes, yes.
That's it.
Even if locally,
Family is experiencing,
right, but
care for a child who's, yes.
but it's the county.
This is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I have a question. If we add 5 days, can we designate that they can only be used in relation to a COVID reason for being out of school? And I'll remute myself.
Yes, so we have been told that if we add additional days, we could say this special leave is only for this school year. It can only be used for COVID-related reasons. And so, I mean, we've had discussions about even limiting it to, because you have 10 days federal leave for the COVID diagnosis, that these 5 days would be for if you were ever quarantined because of close contact. We're still waiting for an answer from our attorney, and Michelle Gilmore's on the phone. I don't think we've heard from her today. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've not heard back from her yet.
So we're waiting to hear if we can truly separate between COVID diagnosis and close contact. What we know for sure today is that we could have a rule that says those 5 days can be used for COVID diagnosis and or COVID close contact quarantine for 14 days. So you can put those limits on it. The other piece that we're asking our attorney, and we haven't gotten the answer, is can we say that the COVID or quarantine was school-based? So am I quarantined because I went somewhere on the weekend, or is the quarantine caused because someone was in my classroom? And would we ever differentiate using school leave only for a school-related?
I don't know how you would ever determine it. That's almost, you're going down a rabbit trail that you could probably never chase. You know, I know, yeah, you went, but does that mean you definitely got it there? No, not necessarily. It still could have been.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about the getting it. It's the contact, because that is pretty,
If your contact traced back to it.
right.
Okay.
If your contact traced back to school, then the leave would be applied. If your contact traced back to you were somewhere on the weekend, then I don't know if we want that leave to be being used for that. But, and then I'll complicate it even more. We went down the discussion. I could tell everyone's smiling under their mask because, I mean, we've talked this through quite a bit. What happens if your own personal child or a spouse that works for the district causes it at home? Because most people don't wear masks at home with their family. And so would we cover that? So we've had quite a bit of conversation about all the different facets.
The part I was gonna clarify is, if a parent is taking care of the child, they probably are quarantined, and then that would be at full pay, right?
If the way, Michelle, chime in if I'm wrong, but if the person, the employee is named as being quarantined, that's at full pay. If they're caring for an individual who's been ordered home, so if somebody's quarantined because they were close contact, but they're not sick, I don't know that they would name the parent.
Well, and
They are twice removed. It depends on how the order is worded, which way you would get to.
and then there could be someone that has a child that has a health condition that they would not permit them to be at school, and then that does fall under the
2/3.
the 2/3. And I mean, we've talked everything from, we would offer 5 additional days to we'd offer 10 additional days to do we even offer any additional days because of the 10 available from the FSCRA. Our strong recommendation would definitely be that it only be for 1 year, and that if we do anything, just so that we don't carry that exposure into the future.
It would expire automatically at the end of the year.
Right, at the end of I mean, I would say the last instructional day, it would wrap up. And, I mean, the math is pretty simple. 5 is 200,000 and 10 is $400,000.
I don't see any harm in doing it, in having it as an insurance policy to our employees.
I'd rather have it available than have to scramble.
And I'm not sure, I don't think, it's gonna be a real hard thing to try to gain. And I don't mean that rudely, but a lot of people try to game the system. This one would be really difficult to game, because, it's either COVID or it's not COVID.
And, I mean, under the other piece that we're checking with our attorney is under close contact. Right now, we think that if everyone's wearing a mask, then it's gonna be harder to have close contact be identified. And so, we would want our staff to then ensure that they're following those protocols, and that they're never in a situation where they disregarded the protocol and then that resulted in utilizing the leave provided.
Have you all heard any feedback from faculty and staff that they are leery about coming back to school?
And, I mean, we've heard from a couple of people. I mean, and for me, literally, I've heard about 2 people that have said that. Yep.
How will we enforce mask wearing for children? Law.
Kind of like we do everything else. I mean, we teach and we encourage and we model and.
It's stickers, lots of stickers.
And I mean, I see a lot of kids out and about wearing them. And
I see a lot under their nose.
Yeah.
See a lot of adults with it.
Yeah,
That's 80%.
they're twirling on their fingers.
Yeah.
maybe.
But I do think there'll already be somewhat in the practice of it, so
Yeah.
that'll help, but.
And, I mean, it's kind of like the meme that's been going around, you know, parents have a lot to do with the attitude of the kids. And if we can all just agree, let's do this, in hopes that we don't have to do this, you know, for multiple school years, then let's just commit to doing it. And I mean, in our case, again, if it really is the difference between someone preventing the spread and preventing sending staff home for 14 days at a time, I mean, it will be very challenging to have a school year if we have to send classrooms at a time home for close contact. So I guess I'm hearing the want to have some type of additional leave. And do we start with the 5 days?
I'd like to see 5 days in the kitty.
I agree, just rather have it in there and not use it, and hopefully we don't have to. Just in the end, we do. There.
And keep some lives for the teachers too.
And
And I keep thinking that it will be maybe provided a little more comfort.
To have someone worry about, I'm not gonna get all my days, or I'm gonna not get paid, and, you know, that paycheck's important, so I'd rather 5 more days.
I believe an important control to add on to it is have it tied to something formal outside of the district. That's my personal opinion, to take any judgment out of it, for those 5 days, that it's either a positive test or an order from a health official to be quarantined. That's my personal opinion, Rachel.
No, I mean, I think that's what, that was been the discussion that we've been having, so I think I'm hearing 5 days, it's this year only. Again, the board can always choose to, you know, this time next year, reinstate it if need to. And then, absolutely, positive test or ordered by a health official, to stay home due to close contact. And do we go down, do we try to figure out whether it was I guess if someone gets a phone call and says, hey, you were out at church, this gathering, any place out of school, and the health order came down for that, are we going to allow for this leave to be used in that situation? Because what's happening right now, just so that you know, and we've had just a little bit of practice, but if someone tests positive, then right now, Michelle Gilmore in her office is actually, they're doing some of the contact tracing. They're figuring out what the scenario was, who that person was around, and then she's reaching out to Dr. Madrigal to figure out who is going to be close contact and who is not, and then Madrigal is making the decision. So it's pretty easy from our standpoint on the close contact, because it's going to be based on the situation at school that had taken place. It's going to key off of a lab confirmed diagnosis in a Burnett CISD facility. And so I think you're right about the diagnosis. There's no way to determine that at all.
If you're left-handed and a redhead, you can't. Just go.
Unmuted yourself.
This is Mark again. Pardon me. I would pretty much agree with what you had said that you thought you were hearing, Keith. 5 days, order from a health official, and I really would lean towards being able to say that it was school-related close contact, and that would be the triggering threshold to access those 5 days and for this year only.
Well, what we will do then, unless anyone else has any other comments, is we'll put together the written proposal. And in fact, I believe, and Michelle Gilmore, if you can chime in and tell me if I'm right, but I think it operationally will happen through a resolution of the board. And so,
Yes.
so our attorney will draft a resolution that you would approve at the August 17th board meeting. Now you're saying, well, Keith, our next meeting's not until August 31st. And so I'm dropping the surprise on you right now. In just a minute, we're going to talk about another agenda item that's going to require the August 17th. And so this would be another nice piece, because we shared with teachers that we would like to tell them anything related to leave before the start of school. And so that would get us right under the wire to be able to communicate that to staff. Well, that does it for my part, but Clay's got a couple of operational items he also wanted to share with you. Thank you for your feedback.
Yes, so we have continued working hard on the bus routes, and we shared a little bit of that with you guys last week. Just kind of wanted to provide an update and a little detail of how that's going to look to provide spacing on the buses to where we have no more than 2 students per seat, and hopefully have the ability to have some seats with only 1 student, and still not have to pick any kiddos up at 5:30 or 5:45. We're trying to stick to kind of our 6 a.m. earliest pickup, which is still no fun, but that is what it is in over 700 square miles. Drop off kids at acceptable times based on the campuses, so campus coverage cannot just be overwhelming where buses are dropping kids off just, at 7 o'clock or 6:55. And then also to keep the distancing. And what that looks like is all buses, right now, buses kind of stagger when they leave based on how long the route is and when they get back to school. So if you have a little bit shorter route, you get to leave 30 minutes later because it doesn't take you as long to get back. We are going to send out all buses at I think it's 5:15 or at the time they all go out, and then have the routes that are shorter, when those, and at this current time, it's looking like about 6 of them, when those buses get back, then they're going to drop the kids off and they're going to go through town and pick up any kids that live in the city limits. And it's a tiered system. So bus route 1 is going to go out, pick up 50 kiddos, drop them off, and then go through the town and run a short route through town and kind of combine that route. So 1 driver, 1 bus covers 2 routes. So that is the plan, and they are working the plan, and they kind of have the routes established. Now they're trying to plug the pieces and see where the kiddos fit in, and a lot of feedback from who's coming and who's not will help satisfy that. So it is going to be a change for drivers, but the fortunate thing for drivers is extra work, a longer assignment means they get paid more. So I think there is a benefit for if they're picking up longer routes. So that is kind of the plan for that. Any questions or thoughts on that piece? We met today again, kind of our second round of food service, trying to get those things figured out, and I think we're moving in a good direction. Every time we meet, we come up with something that we're able to work through. And today we met with elementary groups and think we have a really good plan that should keep every operations humming, and while keeping that social distancing and the cafeteria. The final piece I want to talk about is the state of Texas released their hold harmless, or kind of their safety net for school districts. So they are giving the first 12 weeks, the first 2 weeks of the schools, they're not going to punish a district funding wise. If you have low attendance or you're unable to contact some students, they're going to hold you harmless for a 3-year average prior. And there are a lot of districts who this hurt. Fortunately, Burnett CISD, it will not hurt us. The 3-year average comes in where we need it to. The timing is right because 3 years ago we grew. So we had large increase in enrollment, and they're taking it by snapshot last August. So they're counting our numbers before the flu hit. So our poor Novembers and Decembers don't count against us. So the ADA is 3,026 is what they're counting on, and we're budgeting at the ADA at 3,000. So we should not see any issues if attendance tanks or we're not able to get the kids funding should not be affected this first year. So that was great news.
Well, first 12 weeks.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, because the head of school finance, he said very clearly that the 12 weeks is supposed to be used to figure out where your kids are and why they're not showing up for school, or if they're remote, why they're not being engaged online, because after that, there is no safety net. And he even mentioned the districts would need to adjust their operating budget if they see that their attendance is not keeping pace this school year. So,
Great point. Thank you, Brad.
the only other piece I would mention is, you see Philip is sporting them and Suzanne, and so we're purchasing a face shield for our staff members, very much like what they're wearing. It has kind of a clear eyeglass frame to help support that shield. We also received a shipment from TEA, and they're going to work fine. It's just we don't think that they're going to last all school year, and we think that this model is going to come a lot closer to lasting. So we are purchasing those. And then as a wrap-up, I'll just tell you, we've gotten information from UIL, and probably the biggest impact for Burnett CIC and all school districts is 50% capacity in all of our venues. And they're saying 6 feet of social distancing. So that means truly 50% doesn't exist in a stadium if you do true 6 feet of social distancing. We have a DEC 13-4A football meeting tomorrow, and then I know that I've gone blank on our other sports number, 19 4A. I know that they're trying to maybe get together to try and have a discussion and talk through some of the logistics around it. So Andy had asked earlier, are we going to sell season tickets? And right now, we don't see a way to be able to sell any season tickets because of such reduced number of tickets that are going to be available. So we're going to talk with the other districts and kind of brainstorm. Right now, the conventional wisdom is that you make your first round of tickets available to kids that are performing, their families, so maybe like 2 per family, and then the remaining tickets would be left for kind of a general admission. But we're trying to figure out ways, a system that would not result in these long lines or people going to a physical place and buying these tickets. And so we've got lots of work to do around that.
So does the cohort rule not apply?
So it does, but it would be, I mean, it's kind of like graduate.
4, and then 6 feet away from the
Right.
other 4.
Yeah,
So that is in the,
but how do you?
it doesn't say strictly 6 foot, right? Between people.
Well, it says 6 feet social distancing, but between family.
Okay.
units, right?
Well, I mean, you're not gonna know. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But you can say it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just not.
There is a big difference though between if we use the graduation model, which truly was
Yep.
a 6-foot bubble around every group of 4 or 5, we're at, I don't even know if we're at 40% at that point. So we are going to have to keep looking at that, and that's why we want to talk with the other districts and figure out what everyone is doing.
I had a parent who's real involved with concessions. We started thinking about that, will we be able to have concessions?
And we do think we're going to have concessions. There are very limited rules. I mean, there aren't a lot of real stringent rules around it. I mean, food being left out and prepackaged and, you know, PPE and all that. One of our concerns will have to be about, you know, how do we manage lines so that we don't have a whole group of people standing at a concession. And clearly, we're going to have a reduced amount of people in the stands, and so concession sales this upcoming year are going to be down. Any other questions about instructional or operational issues related to COVID-19? If not, that concludes the communications and reports.
Okay, so someone good at reports. All right, that gets us to consent agenda. Information on these items has been sent to the trustees for review prior to the meeting. Any board member may pull any item from the consent agenda without a second for deliberation prior to consideration. Any item pulled will be considered with the action items on the agenda, and I'm sure y'all noticed it's a pretty long consent agenda, and I'll read them one time. Board minutes, expenditures in excess of $25,000, acceptance of donation, approval of resolution identifying hazardous traffic conditions within 2 miles of school campuses, approval of board representative for the 2020 Tasby Delegate Assembly.
Thank you, Earl Foster.
That's Mr. Earl Foster. Thank you, Earl. And approval of revision to the 2021 school year calendar. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of key test appraisers.
And just to clarify on that item, when you approve it, it's within the agenda item or the action sheet on G, and we sent out a board note, but we also slightly changed the appraisal calendar because of the start of the school year to account for that August 20th start in lieu of the August 17th.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion, we accept the extended list, extensive list of consent agenda items as presented.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Keep that an idea, and probably ought to go with it since we have 2 of our members not here physically. I'll just routinely call for a vote on something and an item, and if I hear a nay, I'll do the roll call. Clear as mud. Motion carried. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, business items, consideration and approval of an order canceling the bond election to be held in the election on Tuesday, November 3rd.
I was just gonna say thank you to the House for that very generous donation.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I was hoping they'd be here tonight. We should thank them.
And just so y'all know, we do send them a letter, thanking on behalf of the board, and that can be used for tax purposes as well.
And, you know, we do receive those donations from time to time, but the one donating has to be anonymous, so to speak, and I suppose that's not the case here.
Correct. We were sure to clear.
Yeah.
No,
All right, get to send the business items up. Item A is consideration and approval of an order canceling the bond election to be held in Burnett CISD. Mr. Gary.
Yes, sir. As we discussed with the board at last Monday's meeting, the administration is recommending the cancellation of the November bond election. To really 2 big reasons: the inability to really get communication and meet with the community to share the message due to social distancing. Just don't think we would have an effective communication plan. And then also just all the uncertainties. There are so many things the school district's trying to figure out. We decided to recommend that let's tackle the bond hopefully in May when the world is a little bit back to normal. But we do recommend the cancellation, and that order is attached in the board packet.
Make a motion, cancel board election as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the order canceling the November 3rd, 2020 bond election. Any comments, questions on that? If none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Gotcha.
And then Earl, whenever you have a chance, if you'll come by the office, we need your wet signature on several resolutions, including this one.
Okay, I'll let you know when I can come by.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, get to item B, is discussion and possible action regarding approval of an order calling for school board election on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Seems a little redundant.
We're actually going to pull that item tonight.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
No, I think everyone needs an explanation. So, we didn't think we were going to have to call for this board election again because the governor is the one that made us move it to November 3rd, but we are required to call it, and we found out just a couple days ago, because it's a November general election, we have to contract with Williamson County and Llano County and spend more money on this election than we would have if we just had it in May. And so we do not have contract agreements with Williamson and Llano today, but we will by August 17th. So you're hearing a theme. August 17th is going to be the night to take care of some of this business.
Bill to the governor.
Yeah.
Well, I'd write them, but it takes 4 months to respond to me on.
We get it after the election.
Can I say that out loud?
All right, item C is discussion and possible action regarding approval to establish proposed 2020-2021 tax rate for maintenance and operations and debt service, and set date for public meeting to discuss 2020-2021 budget and proposed tax rate.
And you do have an updated agenda item from Mr. Gehring at your place.
Yes, sir. So, the school board proposes a tax rate every July, for then we can provide a public notice and then you guys approve it in August. So that's nothing different. It is different this year because we are back to a reality of a real rollback rate. And so 15 years ago, there was a rollback rate and an effective rate that had an impact on taxes. Since then, it really hadn't mattered. It's a calculation that's used to communicate to taxpayers. But House Bill 3 did institute a rollback rate that's gonna change every year, and that does affect the local tax rate. Originally, we were gonna calculate the rollback rate on estimated values, which are provided in April, but around early June, the state came back and said, no, we wanna use certified values to calculate the rollback rate. We received certified values from our local tax offices, between Friday and this morning, we got the last one. So we have an estimate of the certified values. And so we're able to calculate our rollback rate. That rate, when calculated, so those values came in at an increase of 6.4%. So at estimated back in April, the increase was 2%. So the certified values did stick and are up from April, but it is a 6% increase from last year. That increase triggers a rollback rate of 0.9513 is the rollback rate. So currently that number is 0.99. So 99 cents on the M&O side rolls back to 9513. But we are going to recommend tonight not proposing that rate because we don't know how TA is exactly going to take those values they get from our local officers and calculate our rollback rate. They are due to release their calculations in mid-August. So we are recommending we not get too far out ahead of ourselves and proposing a rate that then we can't change if the state has a different calculation. So a reminder, you guys propose a rate, then you cannot adopt anything higher than that. You can indeed adopt a rate lower than the proposed rate, and you guys have done that on the INS side a number of times. So we are recommending approving a rollback rate of 0.9764, which is still a decrease from the 0.99, but that is the guaranteed highest rate the M&O can be. So that would not tie you to anything when it comes time to adopt. 100% sure it's not going to be that rate that we adopt in August. But we don't want to try to get too exact now when we still have information out there, which would put us in a spot where we're not able to adjust, or you guys aren't able to adjust. So we are recommending that is based on a 4% value increase, proposing a rate of 9764, and then mid-August, the state will say, all right, yes, we agree with your tax office, your rollback rate is the 0.9513, and then that's what we would recommend you guys approve as the rate, as the rollback rate, and then the approved rate come August 31st. hopefully that's not too confusing. We're still waiting on a piece, and we don't want to commit the board and the district to something with a missing piece of information out.
Because this is the first
Yes.
year for TA to calculate the 2.5% cap. And so by coming to you tonight and say, let's propose a little bit higher, that we know that's the most it could be, then that gives us a chance then at August 31st with all of the real numbers to come in and approve a lower rate.
But these rates need to be in the motion, right?
Yes, sir. And that's the rates are filled into the motion. And when that rollback rate comes back from the state, the board we can't approve a rate higher than that rollback rate. So, you're proposing this rate, but it's simply saying, all right, we guarantee you it's not gonna be higher than this. But the state's gonna dictate how high the rate can be.
Okay.
So the good news for our taxpayers, whatever we do, we're gonna propose something that's lower than their current tax rate, and then August 31st, we're gonna adopt even a lower tax rate.
Yep.
For voters.
And that's the M&O side. The INS side, we visited last week as well. And to continue going after that debt number, we are recommending proposing the same 19.5 cents on the INS side, to continue the district strategy of a bond defeasance. So we're gonna keep paying off debt, as we move forward at that rate.
Petition for a motion.
I make a motion for the approval of proposed total tax rate of 1.1714 for the 2021 fiscal year, consisting of 0.9764 for maintenance and operation and 0.195 for debt service and interest in sinking INS and settling for the public hearing to discuss budget proposed tax rate for August 31st, 2020 at 6 p.m.
Second. All right, I'll read that back just for the book. The administration, the approval of a proposed tax rate, total tax rate of $1.1714 for the 2021 fiscal year, consisting of 0.9764 for M&O and 0.195 for debt service or INS. Any more comments or questions on that? Oh, excuse me, the public hearing would be on, to hear that would be on August 31st, 2026. So. No questions? Understand? Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
There's a delay there. Okay, motion carried, good deal. All right.
D.
All right, item 7D is discussion and possible action regarding approval of property casualty insurance. You've got that.
I do. Yes, sir. So, we are, coming to you with the, renewal of our property casualty insurance. I'm happy to announce I don't have to act like I know all the answers to insurance because we got the man, we got lucky and the timing worked out that, Jack is here to kind of break down some of the choices and the information. I will kind of lead into that by saying, way before I was here, BCISD had the knowledge and the wisdom to go into a multi-year agreement on their property casualty insurance, which has literally saved the district hundreds of thousands of dollars. We were locked in at a rate that stayed when the rates around the state were skyrocketing. I think tonight some of that bill is coming due, and we're going to see that. But that is important to know that we are paying for 3 years worth of rate increases in one shot, so that's why it's significant. I think we shared it, I know we shared in the board note that Jack told us to budget for a 70% increase, so that's what's in the budget. And he did come in underneath that, not near as underneath that as we were hoping, but, he did come in at that. So Jack, if you could just provide a quick, synopsis.
Okay, well, you did really well. I don't know if you guys have a copy of my executive summary.
They do not.
So just summarize it real well. So depending which deductible option is chosen, the rates have been 38 to 65% below market for the last 3 years. So literally, we've saved over $430,000 being locked in. I've been doing this for 25 years. All I do is work with school districts. I have over 200 school district clients. This is the worst property insurance market I've ever seen, not even close. And it's gonna be worse next year. And it's just simply losses for schools in Texas, way surpass the premium the schools are paying. And everybody's leaving, there's no choices, it's pretty tough. This is a relative win. The goal, regardless of market conditions, is to get the best deal available for the school district. Pcat, like I mentioned earlier, has 180 school districts in Texas. It's been around since 2003. It's a premier program. Round Rock's been in since the beginning. You guys are charter members, and we knew this day was coming eventually, but we've saved a lot of money over the last 17 years. Have to answer any questions.
And so just, we are recommending option 3,
Okay.
the one that you recommended.
So the options, again, we were depending on the deductibles. We have, the 2 main options that are really worth looking at is one is a $200,000 deductible from a wind or hailstorm, and another is a $400,000 deductible for wind and hailstorm. There's only $20,000 difference in premium, so you'd effectively have to go about 9.6 years, I think, 9.7 years without a claim to make up for that premium savings, and that's only if you have one wind and hail claim, because that's deductible per occurrence. So it just doesn't make sense to take that kind of risk. There is a lower cost option. I want to show you the lowest premium option if you want to take more deductible risk. That comes with about $1.2 million more deductible risk per storm, for about a $60,000 difference in premium. So everything obviously is based on risk appetite, but if I were in your shoes, I would probably choose the $200,000 deductible.
And so that's just on wind and hail. The other deductible stays, is that the same 10,000 that it was?
Same 10,000 for a fire or anything that's not wind or hail or tornado related.
And so the premium is $365,044 per year. That is up $144,000 from the prior 3 years. And every budget presentation you've gotten has included that $150,000 in it. So we have it covered within what we've been building the budget at. Jack did get sent it out to 37 different insurance markets, got responses from, I think, 35 or, and none of the others can even come close just based on the structure of Pcat and their design for school districts. So we appreciate the hard work Jack has provided, and the administration looks forward to continue the relationship. We work with Edwards Risk Management, who are just right here next door, and they do a great job as well.
It's primarily hurricanes or also hail driving?
It's mostly hail, it's not the hurricane.
Okay.
It's the hail we had $25 million in hailstorms north of Dallas the last week of May. Dallas was over $100 million last year, so it's pretty much, it's really everywhere now. It used to be just Dallas Fort Worth and the coast, but pardon me, it's everywhere.
We did talk this morning that we think we've only had one claim, so that could be good news that it's not happening, or it could mean we're due.
Y'all have been unusually
Right. Sorry.
Great leadership.
Now, is this our vehicle insurance too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an area that we didn't do so hot. We were talking about that. We had like 3 or 4 in a row that year.
That 5-month span, a nice.
And we all wanted to just quit.
All in all, on average, y'all's claims are below average compared to average schools, which really, really are. Over time. So you're doing well.
Any questions about Pcat?
free jacket come with this?
I think you should have stole Bridget's. And Jack promises he'll be back here in 3 years with a 60% decrease.
I will say this, and this is a good thing, the new multi-year agreements have something this year they haven't had before. They have a 10% up or down clause. You gotta, if you go max 10%, if you don't like it, say, I wanna go look at something else, but it can also go down 10. And the way these costs fluctuate is purely driven by the world's reinsurance market. And every insurance company, every pool, everyone deals with the same few group of players, and they drive the market. So if it does come down next year, very transparent, those costs are passed along, but, a little bit of stability factor.
I move for the approval of the district's property casualty insurance policy as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the, property casualty insurance, as presented. Any comments or questions on that? Not, those in favor say aye.
Unmuted yourself.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Opposed, same sign.
Walla bing bong.
Thank you, everybody.
Motion carried. Thank
Thanks,
you for
sir.
being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Item E is discussion and possible action regarding approval of resolution adopting authorized broker list.
Yes, sir. So every year, as part of our policy, we get the board to approve our brokers. We do not get too fancy with our investing, and so we are asking for the same for brokers as in the past. They are two local groups that we've had a CD with forever, and then Tex Pool, which is the investment pool, and then Financial Northeastern Company, Samuel Vaughn. We lean on Samuel, and he was recommended by Earl and does a great job. And right now, he is not in the profession you want to be in right now. He met with us last week, and that poor fella felt so bad, but certainly isn't his fault. So he is working with us to do the best we can in this strange interest rate environment. And so we are happy to recommend continuing the relationship with these four brokers.
Adopted district's authorized broker.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the resolution adopting the district authorized broker list. Any more comments or questions? If none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item F is discussion and possible action regarding approval of resolution affirming investment policy and designating investment officer.
Yes, sir. Last time you'll have to hear from me. Annually, the board is required to review an investment policy and approve the investment officers. The investment officers are Jill Witt and myself, and we have to have a certain amount of hours of training annually to fulfill those roles. And we have done that. And in the actual policy itself, last couple of years, we did make small changes. We did extend out the maximum maturity from 1 year to 2 years. And we are going to benefit from that because we're going to have 2 years worth of higher CDs before we get into the rates we're at now. So that has benefited the district already. The policy lays out controls and systems that we follow and work with the auditors to ensure they're being followed. So we ask your approval of the resolution affirming we reviewed the investment policy with you.
I move for the approval of the resolution affirming investment policy, CPA local, and designating investment officers.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion been made and seconded to approve the resolution affirming investment policy, CDA local, and designating investment officers. Any comments or questions on it? If none, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think I didn't hear some. Here. All right. Item G is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution addressing payment, leave for personnel, purchasing, procurement, authority, and other operational issues related to the emergency district closure, including authorizing the superintendent to apply for waivers in regard to COVID-19, and authorizing the superintendent's flexibility in other operational issues in order to accommodate school closures due to COVID-19 and continue to provide instruction to district students. That's all.
Only a lawyer could write that agenda item. So on page 64 of your board book, you'll find information regarding a resolution delegating authority to the superintendent during the 2021 school year in order to provide the administration flexibility to address unforeseen issues that may arise during the operations of schools during the pandemic. The board is being asked this evening to approve a resolution providing the superintendent broad authority to act in multiple areas. The agenda item mentioned them, but some others include modification of the school calendar, determination of premium pay, employment compensation, employee leave, TEA waivers and attestations, school closings, purchasing, and policies related to grading and GPA. This resolution is very similar to the one that was approved in March for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year. If approved, this resolution would stay in effect for the 2021 school year unless the board takes authorization to authorize continuation for a longer duration or to terminate some or all of the authority granted. As I shared with you last March, I would only use the authority granted in time-sensitive situations. A perfect example, today, Adam Hermes participated in a call with TEA about the hotspots that we're purchasing. And by the end of this week, July 29th, we're going to receive from Region 4 information on how to order those hotspots. And we have to provide an updated list to Region 4 by August 4th. So, and we have to have a board meeting in that time period to have approval of that. And so, similar to the timeline of where we found out on a Tuesday that we had to submit by a Sunday to purchase on a Wednesday. And we happened to have had a board meeting that time. So that's just an example of why this type of authority would be good to have, so that we do not have to have a board meeting on August 3rd to make that purchase of hotspots that we've already shared with you. But I would be using that again in time-sensitive situations, and I would communicate to the board prior to ever using any of the authority granted. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the resolution. As presented is a really great.
As it says on here.
That's right.
It's with great sympathy that I make this motion as presented. Sorry, Keith.
A second.
All right, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the item 7G resolution as presented. Any more comments, questions? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Oh, I'm not gonna read on. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of policy update 115, affecting certain policies.
Okay, on page 68 of your board book, you will find all of the local policies updating 115. I had shared those with the board a few weeks previously, but there are two that I really want to point out, and that's local policy DIA and FFH. That is dealing with Title IX and sexual harassment. And so those are the two that have been updated tremendously that we are making updates to. dealing with those two specific policies. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Michelle, what were those two that you wanted to pay particular attention to?
The two policies are policy DIA,
Okay.
Employee Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation, and then FFH, Student Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation.
Thank you. So the federal government has updated their definitions of Title IX and discrimination and harassment and lots more procedures, right, Michelle, on investigations when complaints are made.
Yes, that is
much more, oh gosh, what's the word? Very sequential and very involved. You have to go through a definitive process on any Title IX complaint and document.
Make a motion for the approval of policy update 115, affecting local policies as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion made, seconded to approve policy update number 115, affecting local policies as presented. Comments, questions? None, those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Get this into personnel. Ms. Gilmore.
okay. On page 119 of your board book has information regarding those that we have been hiring. We have just a few more teachers left to hire, and our principals are currently in the process, have interviewed and now checking references. So we are wrapping up that and getting very close to hiring all of our teachers for the upcoming school year. And what's attached is just a report of those that we've hired for this past month.
And we were talking today earlier that even with the addition, I mean, we've added a couple of new teaching positions, that even with those, our new teacher count is only at 33, which, I mean, is relatively low given the past several years. So it would be good to have that done, have everyone on board.
Do we have anything on 1, 2, and 3? Or
Nope, just
that?
just reports.
That's all done.
That's all we've got.
Good seeing everybody again. They'll be safe.
Campfire.
What are you saying, our next meeting?
August 17th.
Can't believe I left my jacket at all.
Bye, y'all.